You know, history has some moments that are so terrifying, they sound almost unreal. And one of those moments? The Black Death. In the mid-13th century, something invisible, something no one could see or understand, swept across Europe. It didn't care if you were rich or poor, a peasant or a king. Within just a few short years, it had wiped out nearly half the population of Europe. Think about that for a second. Imagine if half the people in the United States, 150 million people, were gone by the end of the decade. Whole towns abandoned, families erased. It was so fast and so brutal that survivors thought the world itself was ending. People back then called it all sorts of names. The Great Mortality, the Pestilence. But the one that stuck, the one that still makes us shiver today, is the Black Death. For centuries, people have asked the same burning question. Where did it all begin? Was it Europe? Was it Asia? Some cursed the heavens. Some blamed poisoned wells. Others thought it was God's punishment. But the truth was hidden for over 600 years. And here's the wild part. It didn't even start where most people think. Not in London. Not in Italy's crowded ports. The story begins thousands of miles away, in the mountains of Central Asia. And the first clue? Just a single word, scratched into an ancient tombstone: pestilence. In the summer of 1886, a group of Russian archaeologists stumbled upon two small cemeteries near a village called Karadzhigach, not far from Lake Issyk-Kul in what's now Kyrgyzstan. Back then, this area was buzzing with life. An important Christian settlement along the famous Silk Road trade route. The archaeologists noticed something strange. Many of the graves dated to just 2 years, 1338 and 1339, almost a decade before Europe's Black Death exploded. And on one gravestone, written in ancient Syriac, were the chilling words, "This is the tomb of the believer Sanmaksh. He died of pestilence." Now keep in mind, back in those days, pestilence was kind of a catch-all word. It basically meant some deadly sickness. Nobody really knew what it was. The team made their notes, boxed up some of the skeletons, sent them off to a museum in St. Petersburg, and then, well, like so many clues in history, it was forgotten. Buried again, not by sand, but by time. Fast forward centuries later. A medieval historian named Philip Slavin from the University of Stirling came across those old records, and something immediately caught his eye. Between 1338 and 1339, this little settlement lost 118 people in just 2 years. That's massive for such a small community. And get this, many of those tombstones specifically mentioned pestilence. This wasn't some random flu season. This looked like an outbreak. Maybe the outbreak. Slavin had a hunch this could be the very beginning of the Black Death. But hunches don't cut it in science. He needed hard proof. So, Slavin teamed up with paleogeneticists at Germany's Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology. These are the folks who study ancient DNA, literally pulling genetic information from centuries-old remains. Here's where it gets crazy. These scientists had already been tracking the family tree of the plague bacterium, Yersinia pestis. They'd studied over 1,300 samples, both modern and ancient. What they found was that in the early 1300s, the bacteria went through what they call a Big Bang moment, splitting into 4 different lineages. One of those lineages became the monster that ravaged Europe. But here's the catch. In Europe, they only ever found the descendants, never the original strain. That meant the true ancestor had to come from somewhere else. So, when the team drilled into the teeth of 7 people buried in those Kyrgyzstan cemeteries and ran the DNA, the results blew their minds. 3 of them carried the unmistakable signature of Yersinia pestis. And not just any version. It was the mother strain, the root of the plague's entire family tree. The ancestor of them all. Kyrgyzstan wasn't just a footnote. It was ground zero. But how on earth did a local outbreak in Central Asia become a global catastrophe? Well, the region around Lake Issyk-Kul is what scientists call a plague reservoir. Wild rodents, marmots, gerbils, voles, you name it, live there. And fleas living on these animals carry Yersinia pestis. Now imagine this. A sudden climate shift hits. The weather turns warmer and wetter. Plants grow like crazy. The rodent population explodes. More rodents mean more fleas. And sooner or later, those fleas jump from animals to humans. And here's the thing. This wasn't some isolated mountain village. Karajigach sat right on the Silk Road, the global highway of the Middle Ages. Traders from China, the Middle East, and Europe all passed through here. Along with spices, silks, and gems, they unknowingly carried plague, probably in the form of rats sneaking onto their camel caravans or tucked into their grain shipments. By 1346, the disease had reached the Crimean port of Kaffa. And here's one of the creepiest moments in history. Mongol forces laying siege to the city reportedly launched plague-infected corpses over the walls with catapults. It's considered one of the earliest acts of biological warfare. From there, Genoese ships sailed back to Europe. With them, rats carrying plague-infested fleas. And once those ships hit crowded, filthy European cities, the nightmare unfolded. Within just a few years, the Black Death had killed tens of millions. So let's step back for a second. From a forgotten cemetery in Kyrgyzstan to medieval ships carrying rats into Europe's harbors, a tiny bacterium reshaped the fate of nations. It toppled economies, rewrote history, and left scars that can still be felt today. And honestly, that's what makes this story so haunting. Something so small, something you can't even see with your own eyes, was powerful enough to wipe out nearly half a continent. It all began with a single outbreak, a single word carved into stone, and a microscopic killer that forever changed humanity. So here's the question: could history repeat itself? Could another unseen killer emerge from some forgotten corner of the world and spread just as fast in our modern globalized age? That's something to think about. What do you think about this mystery? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching RTS Discovery. And hey, don't forget to subscribe because we've got more mysteries of history coming your way that'll seriously blow your mind.